Okay, I think yeah, we're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. We are live. We are live. We are live. 1 second before I start anything. Um, Bear with me. 1 second. Fucking hell. Great start, mate. Great start, mate. Um, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, first boxing stream of the year. Can you believe it? I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm doing one. To be honest with you, can't believe I'm doing a boxing stream so early in the year. Might be the only one this year. The way we went recently, the way we've been going recently, should I say? I must have only done 4 or 5 streams last year on this boxing channel. Going forwards in the new year or this year now, I might do a few more like fight commentaries. I might do a few more fight commentaries because they are pretty good fun. The only issue with that is, I don't know, man. They are a long old slog. If I do the whole card, it can be like 5-6 hours. If it's one of these sort of Saudi cards, which I don't mind doing it, but it's a lot of time to give up. It's a lot of time, but I will try and do some more like fight commentaries throughout the year on certain fights that I want to. Maybe some random fights, maybe some bigger fights. And yeah, fights that are on at a UK friendly time, so there'd be no way I'd stay up for Teofimo versus Shakur, for example, to do a fight, watch along, whatever. That'll be a bit too much. Because I don't really stay up for boxing anymore. If boxing's on really late, usually I'll watch it the next day. If it's in America, usually I'll watch it the next day. I'm just too old for that shit, bro. Staying up till the crack of dawn. Yeah, I'm pretty good, Jay. It's been a bit of a weird start to the new year, I've got to be honest. So on the way home from going out on New Year's, my car started making this proper weird sound when I drove home. Anyway, it came at a time when the MOT was due as well. I've basically been able to get it through the MOT. It's past its MOT. It cost me like 400 odd quid. But the car's basically on its last legs, so I've got to think about replacing it at some point, which is not great. It's a bit annoying. I'm half expecting like the tax man to fuck me as well. I'm not sure what's going on with my tax account. I think I owe like 3k, but the online site is saying I don't when it previously did, so fuck knows what's going on there. I'm just taking that as a win. It's plausible deniability. As far as my account says, I don't have to pay tax, so it is what it is. I think I overpaid last year or something. I don't even know. But yeah, it's been a weird start to the new year, bro. Got a lot on. Got a lot on. Evening Delt, hopefully you're well. The years are going by so fast. I'm 34 this year, but very hopeful to smash 2026. Yeah, bro, but life sometimes throws curveballs in the way, and it kind of distracts you from, I guess, that mindset. It's all we can do is try our best and work hard, right? As long as we work hard, we know when our head hits the pillow that whether we've worked hard that day or not, right? And yeah, after the Christmas period and New Year's period. Because I had a bit of a break that didn't turn out to be a break because loads of shit happened. So it wasn't really a break, to be honest with you, but I need to get back into the mindset of grinding and hustling and doing my thing, which is easier said than done. Easier said than done, because I'm really a routine person, whether it's good routines or bad routines. And if I break a good routine, I find it hard to get back into it, and vice versa. If I break a bad routine, I find it hard to get back onto the bad routine. I'm just one of those sorts of people. What's up, Emmanuel? How you doing, bro? Hopefully you're well. But yeah, January. This January in boxing is low key kind of surprising because usually with January, it's very slow. The first month of the year in boxing is always very slow, but this year we do have some fights to look out for. Obviously, this weekend we've got the return of Ajik Habayel, which I am looking forward to. I don't really rate his opponents, but you never know. He's unbeaten, he's tall, he's rangy. maybe he can prove to be better than I think he is. But it's good to see Caballel back. Subriel Matias versus Dalton Smith is a really good fight in my opinion. I think that's a really good fight. I'm picking Matias to win, but I think it's a dangerous fight for him at this stage of his career at 33 years old. Dalton Smith is a young, hungry up-and-comer. Has looked pretty good so far, I would say. And, you know, I do think Matias might be on the slide now ever so slightly. Not saying he's, like, shot or anything like that, but I do think he's now on the slide a little bit. And, you know, maybe that gives Dalton a much better chance than he would have originally had a couple of years ago. So yeah, we got Dalton Smith versus Matias, which I like. It's a good fight. What else is there? Obviously, end of the year, Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez. Good fight. We've got the card in Manchester on the 24th of January, headlined by Moses Itauma against Jermaine Franklin. That's an okay developmental fight for Moses Itauma because Jermaine Franklin is durable. He's defensively sound, so maybe he can actually take Itauma some rounds. There's also a couple of half-decent fights on the undercard there as well. Willie Hutchinson versus Ezra Taylor's a good domestic fight, for example. I'm not sure if there's anything else. No, Matey is fighting for the IBF lightweight title. Not Isaac Cruz, the Cuban Cruz, Andy Cruz. He's fighting Raymond Muratalla for the IBF title at lightweight. That's a good fight. That's an interesting fight because Andy Cruz has only had 6 fights so far as a pro. Obviously a standout amateur for Cuba, Olympian, gold medalist, etc. As a pro, he's looked good in instances, in certain moments, but I'm still yet to be fully sold on him. I do think he's got more than enough to beat Muratalla, but we'll see. It's an interesting fight. Madrimov actually returns on that card as well, by the way, on the Andy Cruz Muratalla card. He actually returns there. So yeah, January, there's some things to look out for this January, which again is unusual. It's very unusual. Because usually, like I say, January is dead when it comes to boxing. So at least it's not one of those years where we just got to fucking twiddle our thumbs and wait for a month. What's up? What's up, Apology? How you doing, bro? Yeah, it was busy, man. It was alright. I'm glad it's all over, to tell you the truth. I'm glad it's all over. I've got to be honest. I'm glad to get back to some normalcy. Yeah, I think the fight favours Shakur Stevenson. I think the fight favours Shakur personally, stylistically. The only thing I'm interested in really in regards to Shakur is, you know, I would argue that Teo's the fastest guy Shakur's ever fought. And he brings power with that speed, so it'll be interesting to see whether he can take that power or whether that power has any real effect on Shakur. Maybe it spooks him, I don't know. Maybe he's overawed by the speed and power. I'm not saying Teo doesn't have a chance. I just think when you make Teo take the lead, he's less effective. He's not a great front foot fighter, Teofimo Lopez, and I think that Shakur in this fight is going to fight primarily on the back foot. And, you know, we've seen Teo struggle with that style previously, of course, against Sandor Martin, also a southpaw, by the way, and even against Jermaine Ortiz as well, you know. If you keep range against Teo, half step back and stay composed and stay relaxed and stay defensively sound, he struggles to really kind of land those power shots. So I think stylistically, this one favours Shakur Stevenson. Outside of, you know, Teofimo landing something big. I hope Dalton Smith pulls it off. I like Matias personally. I'm a fan of Matias' style. I always have been. I know there was that fucking that PED mishap or whatever happened. I think he's been cleared. I don't even know what's happened really with that. Also, yeah, that's another fight. Bakram Muratazaliev against Josh Kelly. That takes place in England on January the 31st as well. I imagine Bakram's going to run through Josh Kelly eventually. But I think it might be competitive early on. You know, Bakram hasn't fought in over a year at this stage. And it's been such a shame because he's now 33 years old. He's basically missed a year of his career. You know, not making the most of that kind of momentum he got after beating Tin Tszyu. But But yeah, it's good to see him back, and hopefully he has a busy 2026. Also, as well, there's another fight. I think it's next week, the middle of next week. Speaking of Tim Tszyu, his brother Nikita Tszyu, he's fighting Michael Zarafa out there in Australia. And anyone who's followed the channel knows that I actually covered Tim Tszyu basically from his pro debut, more or less. And in researching his career back then and seeing him grow to where he got to, even back then, people were saying in like Australian circles, like Australian boxing forums and things like that, people were saying back then that Nikita Tszyu was the more talented of the brothers. So I've not seen this Nikita Tszyu fight, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how he deals with Michael Zarafa. That's a decent test for him in Australia. Bro, I've got to be honest, Fred. When it comes to the YTBC, as it's called, I haven't been watching much content. I've got to be honest. I haven't been watching much content. Yeah, hectic December, hectic New Year. I kind of made a mention of what's happened start of this year as well. Just some random bullshit that life throws at you, you know. Money's gonna go out, put it that way. Lol. But that's why you save, right? That's why you save, to give yourself a nest egg, to give yourself some protection, I guess, right? Still pisses me off when I gotta spend it. What's up, Seagar? How you doing, my man? My friend hooked me up with a ticket plug who can give me tickets stupid cheap. So it looks like I'm going to take a last-minute trip to New York for Matias versus Smith. That's a good fight to go to, man, because it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be entertaining. Yeah, listen, hopefully we see a good version of both fighters, and hopefully it's a better fight than I think it will be. I think it's going to be a really cagey affair, personally. A lot of jousting with the lead hand, with Shakur being more active and picking up the rounds. I think it's going to be a very low output affair, personally. But hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully that fight really does surprise me. I am still looking forward to it, but I think Dalton is being set up. There's been no build-up from the obscure Fresh Productions, and just mere weeks after testing positive for Ostarine, the WBC all of a sudden they changed the threshold. Yeah, it is kind of weird, bro. And you know what's criminal is that fight. I'm not sure about in America, but that fight is not being televised anywhere reputable in the UK. It's being televised on some website called payperview.com, and the price is like extortionate. Yeah, 31st of Jan is stacked. Oh shit, yeah, we got Xander Zayas versus Abbas Barao as well. That's a good fight. I've got to be honest, guys. Xander Zayas, I know he's picked up a world title, and his last win over the Mexican fella was a pretty good win. The guy who beat Charles Conwell, his name escapes me. So that was a solid win for Xander Zayas. But Xander Zayas has been one of those guys who I look at him, I watch him fight, and yeah, he's smooth. Yeah, does the basics well. He's got a nice jab. He does everything pretty well. I just don't see the X factor there with Xander Zayas. I don't see the X factor. I don't see like any vavavoom or you know, just I don't see him getting to the next level. Personally, he looks ordinary to me. Personally, I think Abbas Barao can win that fight. Personally, I think it's a good fight. Actually, I think that's a good fight. But I'm not a massive fan of Xander Zayas personally. Lots of theories. Matias tested positive for 0.08 millilitres for Ostarine. However, in New York, the rule is that you can't test above 1. Okay. When the news first came out, I thought it was suspicious that the ring didn't mention it. That's another thing. Yeah, Top Rank still don't have a live TV broadcast deal. That's crazy. But yeah, you're right about Zayas. Because when he was young, when I first heard about this kid, I watched his first few fights and he looked promising. And you know, being from Puerto Rico, you know, they always support their own. He's got the look as well. I thought he'd be a bigger star than he is now, personally. I thought he'd be a bigger star, despite me not like be. I was never really sold on him like that. But yeah, I thought he'd be a bigger name than he is now. Honestly. Okay, watch Nikita's fights against Dylan Briggs and Mazaldier. Both very fun fights. Okay, they highlight his strengths and flaws. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. It makes you. It just lets you know how fragile life is, right? And it should serve as an example to us, to a degree. But you know, we'll see a story like that, and you know, within the next hour, we're already taking things for granted, and but that's just life, right? Until we're hit with that ourselves, we'll never really know the gravity of that sort of situation. That's how I feel anyway. But yeah. Hopefully, the families can be looked after, and as for AJ's career going forwards, I don't really think that's the concern right now, personally. Yeah, this is it. Yeah, that you've nailed it. Xander Zayas holds too much when punches come his way. Yeah, he looks like somebody who could be got to, like he'd fall to bits if there's like a successful pressure fighter who gets to his body, who crowds him, who makes it messy, who makes it rough. And he's got that kind of like pretty boy look, but not everybody who looks like that is gonna fight with that kind of timid nature. But he just has that aura about him, to where that's what he's going to do when things get tough. It's just an aura, it's just an energy I sense from that guy. And I think he'll come undone when he fights like a pressure guy, a good pressure guy, or a good power puncher. I expected more from the tall Mexican that Zayas fought. Yeah, maybe. To tell you the truth, I did as well. Because he done a bit of a number on Charles Conwell. He kind of surprised him. Was really relentless that night. I've been drinking, by the way, if you can't tell. I have been drinking. But no, yeah, I mean, Xander, he boxed well that night. He did box well, but I don't see the X factor with that guy, personally. I don't see the X factor at all. There's a new wave of people questioning how good Caballero is. What do you think? I think the thing with Caballero for me that makes him very interesting is the unique nature to his approach and style. Also, somebody who saw this guy many years ago fight when he fought Chisora, for example. He's also a guy who's really changed his style up, because back in those days when he was fighting the likes of Chisora and the fights before and after, he was much more of a boxer type. Dare I say negative? Kind of not like a spoiler as such, but kind of like a pointy type fighter. But the last sort of 2 years or so, he's kind of totally reversed his style, which is very interesting. But yeah, a heavyweight who works the body with consistency, a decent high guard, seems to have a good chin, good stamina. He brings dimensions that not many heavyweights have. And I can see I've seen a few people claim that stylistically he might be the hardest fight for Usyk. I can see where people are coming from, personally. I can see where people are coming from, but you can argue at the same time in regards to how good he is. Maybe some of his results flatter to deceive. Zhili Zhang was getting on. Makhmedov turned out not to be that great, but we can all play that hindsight game. He's looked good. He's looked good in recent fights, right? He's looked very good, I felt, personally. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he looks like this weekend. I did have a little look at the Polish fella, and to me, he looked like a decently athletic fighter who's got okay hand speed for a man of his size, but he seemed a bit like a slapper to me. Doesn't really turn his punches over. Throws a lot of get-off-me punches. His punch technique overall is pretty poor from what I can see. And I don't think he's going to get Caballero's respect. And also when he backs out, the hands down, chin in the air, I think for a pressure guy like Caballero, that's meat and drink. I think he'll catch him with a left hook on the way out. And I think his hands are going to be extra low because of the body shots. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't great against Anders Zayas. Tyson Fury versus Makhmudov. I mean, I'm hearing Tyson Fury's coming back. Yeah, Fury's got enough to beat Makhmudov. I'm not particularly interested in Fury until it's all official, until I see him in the ring. I mean, I would really like to see Wardley and Fury, personally. Because, he teased that. I doubt it happens. I'm not like holding my breath. Otherwise I'll fucking pass out, but I'd love to see Fury versus Wardley. I think that's an interesting fight, personally. Yeah, but this is what I don't like. Yeah, listen, Derek should fight fucking some bum in his 50th fight. Fight Luis Ortiz, the old man. Or fight Wilder or something. Oh yeah, big up to Nordic as well. I see you, man. How you doing? Yeah, you're in Poland, right? Yeah, Wardley will knock out Chisora. Wardley will knock him out. Send him packing. It's kind of wild that Wardley right now is like the next big thing in the heavyweight division. Yeah, Caballero could make Usyk feel uncomfortable. Usyk would have to jab him to death, but Caballero is relentless. However, if Zhang and Kevin Johnson can hurt Caballero, I think Usyk could as well. Yeah, I think way too many people underestimate Usyk's ability to hurt opponents. You know, he's hurt more or less every heavyweight he's been in with. Hurt AJ, hurt Fury badly, hurt Chisora, and obviously hurt Dubois, right? Twice. So, yeah, people always talk about the power of Usyk or lack thereof, but he's got enough to hurt you and stun you due to the speed and angles. Oh yeah, I saw that picture, Nordic. I saw the picture. I knew I recognised the stadium, but I didn't know where from. Like, what event, or... It might have been a football game I recognised it from. Oh no, okay, so that was where Usyk beat Dubois the first time. Interesting. It looks nice there. I wouldn't mind going to Poland, personally. Travelling right now, though, is like the furthest thing from my mind, honestly. Psychopathy, how you doing, bro? Tiafimo's probably being paid by the dancing gremlin, Shakira Stevenson, his team to take a dive in the later rounds. We'll see, man. Listen, I hope it's just a good fight. That's one of those fights where, on paper, I understand its importance for boxing, and it is the type of fight that should happen. However, I think that one's going to let people down. I don't think it's going to be a good fight. Even if it's like on the up and up, I don't think it's going to be a good fight, personally. Just stylistically, because of Shakur. And also Teofimo's lack of ability to fight on the front foot effectively. I would presume that Chisora would want to go out with a win for his 50th fight. Fights with White, Ortiz, Helenius, maybe Dave Allen. Helenius would low-key make sense. Helenius would make sense to right that wrong, to avenge that loss. Same with Dillian White, but who wants to see Dillian White after that debacle against Moses, right? It is kind of crazy that Chisora is still somewhat viable. Like, it's crazy that his chin hasn't, like, completely deteriorated. Don't get me wrong, it's not as good as it was. It's not as good as it was, but he can still take a whack. It's kind of crazy how his body has sustained itself throughout his career. Because he's taken a hell of a lot of punishment. But for good or good, bad, and ugly, I'd say he's earned his money. I'd say he's earned his money. He was able to remain a contender, more there or thereabouts, for what, the best part of, I don't know, 15 years? Because he fought Vitali in what, 2011? Fought Tyson Fury 2011, first time. Yeah, he's basically been a contender for 15 years. That's kind of wild, considering. It's kind of wild. I know there's been times when he hasn't been top 10 whatever, but you know what I mean. He's been there or thereabouts. He's been relevant. Yeah, I'm doing okay, Lewis. I'm doing okay, bro. I could complain. I have complained, but I won't complain anymore. Put it that way. Wardley is very tough and strong, but his boxing skill and overall ability is subpar. I don't think he'd beat Anthony Joshua, let alone somebody as talented as Usyk. I don't think he'd beat a prime Joshua, psychopathy, but Joshua now, even before what's just happened with Joshua, I'm not so convinced. I'm not saying Joshua couldn't beat him now, but like, put it this way: if that turns into a firefight and Wardley gets hurt, I'd have a lot more faith in Wardley pulling through and landing something. If AJ got hurt, not so much. Say what you want about Wardley, and the lack of there are glaring holes in his game. He does make up for it to a degree with like his intensity, and I guess his never say die attitude. But he's in a great position. I would still personally like to see Wardley fight Parker again, because I really wasn't satisfied with the stoppage, personally. I wasn't satisfied with the stoppage. I felt it was a bad stoppage. That one really divided opinion. Some people felt it was okay. I personally didn't. I really did not like that stoppage. So I would like to see Wardley Parker too. And it was a good fight as well. Let's not get it twisted. It was a good fight as well. Probably, bro. Manuel Char. See, it's crazy that a guy like Manuel Char can make... I don't know how much money he's made in his career, but... even if he's made $1 million in career earnings, somebody of his ability earning $1 million out of boxing is crazy to me. It's crazy. If I was some big dope who had nothing going for me, I was like early 20s and I didn't even... I would go straight to the boxing gym and try and pad out a record. Because some of you... Look, bro, I feel like it's the easiest to... When it comes to heavyweights, it's the easiest thing in the world to manufacture a heavyweight and just build up a record. Because he is rubbish, Manuel Char. Yeah. Yeah, when you look at his resume, Chisora, he really has fought a who's who. Like Helenius, Vitali, Tyson Fury a bunch of times, David Haye, Joey Parker, Carlos Takam, Dillian White when Dillian White was relevant. Any fights that I'm looking forward to coming up? Matias versus Smith is one. More so than any, I think, in the next month. But Abbas Barral versus Anders Zayas is another. To a certain degree, Tio versus Shakur, just because it's a big fight, but I don't think it's going to live up to expectation, I will say that. But I'm still intrigued. I'm just the usual kind of fights, you know? I got a good question. Who's the most overrated heavyweight boxer of all time, in your opinion? Most overrated heavyweight boxer of all time. I think it comes down to two names. Crazy take. I'm going to say Muhammad Ali. I'm gonna say Ali because I feel like don't get me wrong, he's still an all-time great heavyweight. I'm not saying he's not an all-time great or anything like that, but Ali's one of those fighters who, and there's certain historical fighters who have this privilege. He's one of those fighters to where, for whatever reason, fight fans don't go through his record with a fine-tooth comb. Other fighters, we will say, oh, he avoided this guy, or this guy was old when he fought him, or this was a robbery. There are several robberies on Ali's resume for a start that nobody talks about. I'm not saying he isn't an all-time great or a top 10 all-time great. But the greatest, I'm not convinced by the greatest. Like, people cry and bloviate about Larry Holmes smacking him about when he was old. I think Larry Holmes would always beat Ali. Comfortably as well. I think he would always beat Ali. Look at how he struggled with Ken Norton. Larry Holmes had a horrid style for Ali, in my opinion. That's just one fighter who I think is ignore resume talk. I'm just talking about the technique and technical ability and skill set. I think Larry Holmes is better than Ali, personally. Yeah, Jimmy Young was another one. Even Henry Cooper, you know, on another day that's a stoppage loss. Plus he cheated to win that fight. His team cheated. He cheated. His team cheated. Whatever. Same can be said for Iron Mike. Yeah, but I don't feel like it's to the same degree as Ali personally with Mike Tyson. And there are other arguments about, you know, Ali being a cultural icon, you know, bringing eyes to the sport, and that has to be taken into account as well. Same with Mike Tyson. You know, Mike Tyson did that in particular. That was obviously after Ali, it was Larry Holmes, who wasn't always, you know, the favourite of the people or the wider public. And when Tyson came along, he kind of reinvigorated people's interest in the heavyweight division. But what I'm saying is, on a head-to-head sense, there would be several heavyweights I'd pick to beat Ali, personally. This is it, Boxing Hotspur. I think it's like the how people hold him up to be like a deity, where any form of criticism is either deemed as hating or it comes from like an ulterior place. It's just weird. I've always found that weird with people in general. It's not just boxing, it's life in general. It could be about a politician. It could be about a boxer, whatever. You know. But that's how I see it. You know, it's almost like a form of. It's almost like idolatry, right? People go way too far with it. Ali's best ever victory, legacy-wise, was probably Foreman. I agree, yeah. I would agree, I think. And another thing as well, I would say Sonny Liston, but let's not act like those fights weren't very suspicious. Yeah. Mike Tyson's overrated when it comes to the fact that people think he's unbeatable in his prime. He was beatable, and he still lacked a win against a prime all-time great. Still a good fighter, but possible fixes also, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there were fights Tyson struggled in. Even in his prime. And these guys he struggled against weren't exactly world beaters, you know. Like, you know, James Tillis, for example. What's up, Ganja? How you doing? You've reminded me, Ganja. I'm fucking here talking boxing. I need to put the other shit on Premiere. Hang on. Ba 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 ba. Sorry, 1 second. I'm fucking behind. Bear with me for 1 second. But yeah, I think you're right. In regards to underrated heavyweights, I would still personally call Larry Holmes underrated. I think he was like, for me, Larry Holmes was like the first like modern heavyweight in terms of his style, in terms of his technique. I think Larry Holmes was like the first modern heavyweight. That's how I see it anyway. Sorry, 1 sec. And I think Larry Holmes had a good style to watch as well. It was very smooth. Yeah, a lot of people in general lack the ability to critically think. Always black or white, never grey. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, bro, somebody could have heard me say, "Oh, Ali." In my opinion, Ali's the most overrated heavyweight of all time. And in their brain, they will say, "Oh, that means you don't rate Ali. You think he's a bum." No. So somebody or someone in a sport could be overrated, or who I would deem as overrated, but it doesn't mean I don't think they're good or world class or, even an all-time great. No, I've not played it, Sucker Free. Haven't played it. You can be great. I've been playing Battlefield at the minute, bro. A lot of Battlefield. You can be great while also being overrated. Indeed you can, yeah. Indeed you can. True, you made that point about the Inoue resentment. Literally had a friend who was just insecure about his height and size, reinstating that Asian people are small, just like Inoue and his opponents, yeah. Yeah, Inoue looked good last time out, I thought, against Picasso. The only thing that was missing was the stoppage, but that Picasso geezer had a good fucking chin. Because I watched the weigh-in for that fight, and to me, yeah, he was bigger than Inoue, but he looked kind of frail, making the weight. But he was very tough. I think that Picasso guy can come again. I think that was a decent performance by Inoue. On the undercard, though, I still think Reyes beat Nakatani. Personally, I felt Nakatani lost that fight. I know. It was like a fight at two halves almost, wasn't it? Nakatani was definitely up after 6. But even then, like when he was landing those big old left hands on Reyes, I never felt Reyes was hurt once. Whereas Nakatani in that fight was definitely hurt to the body on more than one occasion. I want to see that Reyes guy again. He's a big lump for that weight class. I will say though, he did look a little saucy. He did look a little saucy. But yeah, he took the reach away of Nakatani. Yeah, overrated is the most misunderstood word in the dictionary. Yeah, I think people correlate it with bad or, Yeah, I love it when people talk about, when it comes to all-time greats, I love it when people talk about the head-to-heads, how they think fights will go. I know it's based on nothing, I get it. It's just based on how we perceive what each guy does well and the style clash more than anything, but I always love those discussions. I don't like this idea of talking about old fighters with like a top trump mentality. You know that game Top Trumps? It's like a card game. This beats that, and that's what a lot of older heads do with old time fighters. They'll just quote like, "Oh, this guy has 10 world title wins and he's been a world champion 3 times. Therefore, he's better than the guy who's been a world champion 2 times and had 8 world title fights." Do you know what I mean? How about talking about the skill? Who do you think would win? That to me is boxing talk. Any Rain Man brained motherfucker can talk about so and so had 15 title defenses. He beat 4 world champions. Like, come on. I don't find that type of discussion engaging when it comes to boxing. Yeah, I couldn't put it better myself. Yeah, Larry Holmes blended smooth boxing with a flashy flash and with grit and toughness. Yeah, basically. Because he was tough when he had to be, Larry Holmes. Yeah, Picasso did look good. He's still young, and yeah, he can move up to 126 or even 130. Would do his career wonders. Yep, I agree. Funny blend of personality and entertainment. One fantasy bout would be Duran versus Mayorga. That would be funny as fuck, yeah. But yeah, you know that's not going to work on Duran. Mayorga's trash talk. It's not going to work, man. It's not going to work. Mayorga's going to be bigger, but Duran is just way too good. Duran might be the baddest motherfucker, by the way. One of the baddest motherfuckers to do it in the lighter weight classes. Who was that guy? Who was that guy he beat? He like knocked him out in like the 13th or 14th round. And the guy had like a seizure or something, and he got carried out on a stretcher. Something like that. And when he was asked about it, he was like, "Do you know what? He's lucky I didn't train hard, because if I did, he'd be leaving. He'd be in the morgue, not a hospital." It's like, fucking, that's cold. Yeah, after 3 rounds, I saw Hernandez Reyes take over till the last bell. You can make an argument for Nakatani winning round 6 or 12. Yeah, I thought Reyes won personally. I thought Reyes won, but he impressed me, man. He's 25 years old. They are really good 12 rounds for him to learn from, despite him feeling hard done by. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. See, listen, this is what I don't like about boxing. To me, regardless, if you thought Nakatani edged it 7-5 or whatever, that fight needs to happen again. To me, it can't be Inoue versus Nakatani. It can't be, because that to me takes the shine off it. The fact there's an asterisk with Nakatani's last fight. Rematch Reyes, have Inoue fight somebody else, and go from there. And if Reyes wins, have Reyes versus Inoue. But I want to see Reyes again pretty quick. Because I done the preview for that card, and I'd only seen a very little bit of Reyes. And I said on the preview, I don't know much about the guy, but from what I've seen, it could be a banana skin. I didn't know how that would translate from the highlights I saw. But, he showed that he was very capable. He might have the best chin in that weight class as well. He might have the best chin. Yeah, I was BDA. I was very surprised he went for 12. And more so, I was surprised how he took the body shots. Because, again, in the weigh-in, I thought he looked a little frail. But again, he's still pretty young. What is he, 25? 24, 25? He can come again. And he could move up to feather. Maybe get some action there. Against the likes of a Nick Ball or somebody along those lines. Angelo Leo. He can still definitely come again. If a Virgil Boots fight were to happen, who would you favour to win and why? Do you know what? That's one of those fights. I've kind of gone back and forth on it. At welterweight, I was pretty certain for the most part that Virgil would probably grind him down and stop him. Because Boots kind of... I feel like Boots tries to look too pretty in there. He tries to box a bit too much. I think Boots should be more aggressive and be more of a boxer puncher, combination puncher. Hold his feet a little more. Rather than, try and look pretty and overthink things like he did against Karen, for example. But yeah, overall, while they was at welterweight, I was kind of leaning towards Virgil. These days, I'm not so sure, personally. I'm not so sure. Virgil had that long time out. He blew away a couple of guys. Pause. Then he struggled against Boachuk and got dropped twice. Then he came back and looked good against Madrimov. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I would still lean towards Virgil, but don't quote me on it. I might change my mind. But it's a fight we need to see. I don't know who's holding that shit up. Yeah. This is basically psychopathy. Yeah, that's how I kind of see it. Yeah, Nakatani got outworked. Yeah, and mogged by Hernandez. Yeah. Yeah, that might be one of the best knockouts of all time when Duran got stopped by Hearns. What's the difference between La Chapiza and Los Chapitos? They're the same thing. Just different derivatives of how they go by, I guess. Yeah, bro, Duran threatening to bang Leonard's wife. Owned a pet lion also. He comes across very mentally tough even now. Only guy I could say would beat him convincingly is Pacquiao. I'm not even convinced about... I'm not convinced that it would be convincing, to be honest with you. Duran was a savage. That's a good fight. This is a good fight as well that's been signed. When is this fight going down? I think it's February. 1 second, let me have a look. Oh yeah, so February the 7th. Brandon Figueroa versus Nick Ball. I think that's a really, really good fight. I'll tell you what, I know Nick Ball hasn't been in a unification fight yet. However, I will say, I think his championship reign so far hasn't been awful. Let's just say from when he's fought at world level. So Ray Vargas, Raymond Ford, Ronnie Rios, who is a perennial contender, TJ Dehaney, perennial contender now, or was a world champion as well at one point, Sam Goodman, decent mandatory, and now Brandon Figueroa. It's not like he's milking the belt, so he's fighting decent competition, Nick Ball. So I like this fight. This might be his best it is his best title defense so far, and it's a dangerous fight. It's definitely a dangerous fight. But you would imagine that Brandon Figueroa will play into Nick Ball's hands. He'll give him the sort of fight he wants. That's an interesting fight. I can see Nick Ball losing that fight. I can see Nick Ball losing it. That's a good fight. I'm putting that close to 50-50, to be honest with you. That's a really good fight. The only issue for Brandon is, if it's close, it's in Liverpool. So let's say we think Brandon Figueroa wins 7 rounds to 5. He's not going to get the dub. Yeah, I mean, I'm not touching that Maduro topic with a 10-foot barge pole because... Put it this way, there's more to that than meets the eye. Venezuela are a transit country when it comes to cocaine. It's not grown in Venezuela or anything like that. And the biggest transit point, obviously, and manufacturers of certain drugs, are the Mexican organizations. It just seemed like a cover story. The whole, cartel of the Suns that Maduro was supposedly part of. I'm not gonna lie, he did show pretty good aura though when he got banged up. His photos, that's how you want to get pictured if you're a dictator that's just been caught, just been arrested, been snatched up. Yeah, America wants to prevent them selling oil to China, pretty much. Yeah. The drug trafficking thing, I think, was more so like a lesser version of WMDs, I guess. If they cared about cartels so much, they'd focus more on Mexico. If they focused on... So Mexico's got a problem, obviously. Although Mexico's in a good... Mexico's a country right now that... It should be Latin America's first superpower. It's got all the potential to be so. They've improved a lot of things in recent years, from education rates to purchasing power to manufacturing, etc. Mexico is heading in a decent direction, and the more that's maintained, the more that continues, maybe the less prevalent cartels will be. But ultimately, regardless of cartels in Mexico, they obviously need to be addressed, but you got to address the root cause. Why are so many people in the West taking these substances? You have to. I know that comes across as people don't like that viewpoint for whatever reason, but the fact that people they feel the reason to take them has to be addressed. You know, the societal breakdown, financial pressures, you know, whatever it may be. And not only that, you know, we can still tackle the drug trade on the end of it in our own countries. What do we do with dealers who sell heroin in Cali or, you know, LA? How about life in prison? How about lock these people away for the rest of their lives? If they're selling anything other than weed that's synthetic or crazy ass shit, put them away forever. Don't let them out. Maybe if it's on a large enough scale, death penalty. How about that? Go full fucking Duarte on them. But no, listen. We have degenerated as a society. There's no doubt about it. And you know, the fact that so many people are taking these substances is pretty telling, right? It's pretty telling. I'm not saying that, you know, the Mexican cartels and the Mexican government and the judiciary out there don't have a role to play, because, you know, the cartels are fucking over Mexican people as well in a big way still. But yeah, I think first you gotta make your own bed before you can. And I think that's a good rule of thumb in general. I don't want to sound like that idiot Jordan Peterson, but you do have to get your own home in order before you start swinging your dick around. You know. I think so anyway. And what do you do with like the drug users? What do you do with them? Yeah, Brandon basically needs to win 10 rounds to 2 to get a draw. Yeah, plus a knockdown. Yeah, the West is full of druggies. Yeah, but even like legal substances, people can't enjoy with moderation, can they? Like, there's nothing wrong with sinking a couple of pints after a long week or whatever it may be, but you know, the amount of people now who, after every workday, they might have to sink 4 cans to go to sleep or whatever it may be. It's wild. And I like a drink, man. I like a drink. I used to smoke a lot. Yeah, cocaine in the UK makes adults who take it unbearable. Cringe culture, yeah. Yeah, do you know what, BDA? I didn't watch the Joet Gonzalez fight. I watched his last fight with Fulton, And I thought he won the first fight against Stephen Fulton, but in his second fight, he looked, dare I say, like he lost a step. So if he looked poor in the Joet Gonzalez fight as well, that might be something to look at. Because, Nick Ball is... I don't want to say Nick Ball is... He is what he is, right? But, he's in his prime. He's in his absolute physical prime right now. He's strong, he hits hard, he's explosive. If Brandon's on the slide, he might be in trouble in that fight. But I'm hoping he's not. I'm hoping he can kind of get back to his old form. If he does, I think it's a really good fight. I think it's a really good fight. And a hard fight for Nick Ball. What's the best way to deal with a disrespectful and annoying coworker? I mean, it depends on your situation, because that all really dictates what you can do about it. Like, for example, if you desperately need the job, then there's only so much you can do. If you've got a nest egg to where if things really went south, you could sustain yourself for a few months, then you have all the options available to you. That's the way you should be looking at it, I think, is try and get yourself into a position in which, if you had to leave, or maybe you got sacked or whatever for saying the wrong thing, then it's not going to fucking end you. But how to deal with a disrespectful and annoying coworker? I don't know what you do, bro, but I work in a fucking office. I just stick my headphones in and I take them out at the end of the day. Don't talk to anyone. There's a trend called there's a trend that has blown up recently. It's called looks maxing. Their premise is that looks, facial attractiveness, determines one's life quality and success in all areas of life. Your thoughts? Sounds pretty gay to me, to be honest with you. Sounds pretty gay. I think there's a lot of I have seen those like posts on Twitter and clips of those sorts of people. I just think there's a lot of malignant homosexuality, to be honest with you. Yeah, I heard about that guy. That clavicular guy. I think that's just a meme though. I doubt he smashed his own face with a hammer. Like, but yeah, all that shit's weird to me, man. All that shit's weird to me. Like when I was young, when I was coming up, and I'm still a young man now. I'm 31. I'm in my prime. I'm in my physical prime. I'm still in my prime. I'm still youngish, but I've got a bit more wisdom now. But anyway, when I was young, the advice was simple. Get yourself out there and ask. The more you ask, the more likely you are to get success. You're going to get a lot of no's, but eventually you're going to get a yes. Just basic maths. It's a basic formula that hasn't failed me. It's what it is. Stop watching porn. Get yourself out there. Bro, that's what I'm saying. In my day, looks maxing was a bit of fucking hair gel and Lynx Africa. Or just a new haircut, a fresh haircut. That's it for me. I'll get a haircut every 6 weeks. I'll get a nice tight little fade, skin fade. You know? Because I like the look I try to rock is like skin fade, like a real kind of high skin fade, part in line shaved, and kind of like a goatee. And I feel like I can fit into every environment. I low-key look like a fucking terrorist at times. Other times I look like a bit of a hipster. And there's other times I look like a right-wing extremist. So I can kind of fit into every group, you know? I can fit anywhere. Yeah, listen. Obviously, but some people have better fucking luck than others, right? But I don't think it's an excuse not to try. Bro, Link's Africa. I know everyone needs to fucking like piss on it and meme on it and just hate on it, but honestly, Link's Africa was fine. Link's Africa was fine. It was decent enough. I'm such an idiot, by the way. Fuck yeah, no. There we go. Okay, whatever. Sorry, I'm just doing something in the background. Doing something in the background. Right, there you go. Sorry about that. Yeah, people think a slightly tighter jawline is going to change their lives are genuinely insane. These people just need to leave the house more, yeah. Need to get off the internet and leave the house, yeah, basically. I need to go back to this, sorry. I actually spoke to Clavicular when he was on the bodybuilding forum. He's been taking roids since he was 14, also takes meth to suppress his appetite and get leaner. That's wild. So he's going to have a heart attack by the time he's like 28, 29. That's wild. Yeah, I think it smells alright, bro, Lewis. I think it smells fine. I think that's a lot, again, that whole thing as well, you know, about... Don't get me wrong, like, I've had some nice, like, fragrances, I guess. Like, Hugo Boss, I guess, is the extent I go to, but... Honestly, like... You can get any old aftershave and you'll be fine. As long as it's not proper cheap shit. It could be just something half decent. Doesn't have to be like a name brand or whatever. Height maxing. Yeah, listen. We're dealt the hands in which we are dealt, and that's all we can do about. But that's all we have to go by. You know? We're dealt the hands that we're dealt. And that's it, you know? That's it. Who are we to mess with God's creations? Lord Farquaad has a Giga Chad duel. Manuel Char is the Giga Chad of boxing. The Giga Char. See, imagine doing that. Like, break your bones in your legs, reinsert them with rods, and then boom, add on 6 inches. You're gonna look fucking stupid though, aren't you? With those long ass legs and small body. Like, small torso. You're gonna look fucking stupid. I'd like to, like, just get in someone's mind who goes through those procedures. Like, where are they mentally to think that's a good idea? Or to think that they have to do that? It's wild, isn't it? But like we said earlier, there's a lot of, like, girly men about these days and, like, malignant undercover homos. Yeah, bro, that's a great shout. Yeah, big up Del. As long as you don't have a beer belly, then you're okay. Too many guys are defeated in their minds. Yeah. Like, I've never been built. I've never been jacked. I'm 6'1"-ish. Maybe 6'2", maybe 6'1.5", something like that. I've always been slim. And I've done alright. I'm an average looking guy. I just put myself out there. I haven't been doing that recently. It's been a bit of a dry spell. But I haven't been trying. That's on me. You know? And I had something going as well, and I I did fuck it up. She was annoying, not annoying, but she was very mithery, but I fucked it up still. It's my fault. And yeah, the last few months have been very quiet. But, you know, I'm a catch at the end of the day, so eventually they're going to come to me, as they always do. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm not. I am a catch, bro. I'm a massive catch. That's a mindset. That's the aura. That's the attitude. That's the mentality. When I say I'm a catch, you're probably going to catch something off me, but that's neither here nor there. That's not my problem. Yeah, bro, you're right, sucker free. Yeah, but you're very right. Yeah, that's a great shout. But you know, a lot of men now have like that body dysmorphia or variations of it. You know, different variations of it. Whether it be height or facial features or whatever it may be. Yeah, there is easy for you to say, Del, there's a ever-growing shortage of testosterone, all that birth control in the water, microplastics, porn, etc. Yeah, there are things in which we can't avoid, right? And things that they are a genuine concern, and that is one. You know, those are good issues to talk about, things that should actually be addressed with sincerity and seriousness. That is something that should be discussed, like, genuinely, but some of this gay ass shit about, like, I don't know, like, height, like Nordic said, height maxing or, you know, looks maxing. Like, just get a decent haircut, have a fucking shower, put some fucking deodorant on or some aftershave or whatever, and wear decent fitting clothes. How about that? So I always wonder, like, if a woman found out a man had height surgery, like, surely she's going to get the ick with the lack of confidence kind of thing. Because that's cosmetic surgery or, you know, that sort of thing is a woman thing, right? Yeah, at least that's healthy though. Like, wanting to get fit or hench or shredded, that's healthy to a degree. You can overdo that as well, obviously, by taking steroids and things like that and taking it too seriously and basically developing like an eating disorder and a drug use problem. You can still take that over the top, but like, that's healthy if it's done in sensible ways. That's healthy, perfectly healthy. Yeah, man. I mean, if you got a shit chin, just like grow a fucking beard or whatever beard that you can, and then Gucci. Grow like even if you can't grow a proper beard, like a goatee or something would help. Most people can't tell that they stink. I used to be one of them. I think what they say, right? People don't know when their breath stinks. Is the one. Yeah, the thought of surgery alone is off-putting. Yeah, I agree. Unless I really had to have surgery for something that had no other option, I wouldn't want surgery at all for anything. People people chewing gum all day make their jawline more masculine. Do you think that's true? I don't think that's true. I mean, maybe I doubt it. Like, what's the difference between chewing gum and eating? Do you know what I mean? Like, we eat every day. I don't know, man. Maybe strap a weight to the bottom of your jaw and then like kind of like move your jaw up and down. I don't know. Yeah, that I agree. Boxing DT, it is a good style matchup. Smith versus Matias. Yeah, it's pressure fighter versus I would say boxer puncher in Dalton Smith. I'm picking Matias to win based on the experience more than anything and what we've seen him do at his best. I do think he's slightly on. I think he's slightly regressing now, but I think he might still have a bit too much for Dalton Smith right now. But I genuinely wouldn't be shocked. I said it in my prediction. I wouldn't be shocked if Dalton Smith could pull something off. I'm good, Ash. How about you, mate? I'm good. I'm not too bad. Yeah. Okay, you think it works? I saw results with one guy, but he also lost some weight. It's the same as eating, but with gum. It's like you're constantly exercising it. Okay. But that's not going to improve your jaw. It's just going to improve the muscles around your jaw, right? Yeah, I think the maxing industry is full of closets, appealing and virtue signalling to gain approval of other men. It's very sus. Yeah, that's how I see it as well, basically. It is wild though how people will like proper get into that sort of thing that looks maxing shit. I kind of find it weird. I mean, I understand it. I understand it. Like especially if you're a young man, every young man wants a bit of fucking tail, right? I get it, but there may be maybe there's other things that you should focus on first. Like being able to hold a conversation for one, getting a half decent haircut, not being a fat cunt, buying clothes that fit. You don't have to buy fucking Armani or Gucci either. You really don't. Just well-fitting clothes. Because how many times do you see people on social media or in just general media, whatever, dressing Gucci or whatever it may be, Versace, and look like absolute shit? Look at that retard, that Rick Reno, by the way. I mean, he looks like a complete wanker, complete clown. I think that's the thing now, though, Ganja, isn't it? It's like everything now is marketed as a shortcut, and Ozempic's another one. Who knows? In a few years, that's probably going to fuck a lot of people up. We might have like a documentary on Netflix in 10 years about how Ozempic like killed people and shit. Again, it's like when with Ozempic, it's one of them things. It obviously has some sort of an effect and it works to a degree, but you're not really tackling the root cause of why somebody got that way, how somebody got that way, how somebody got to that size, what mental demons are there, what crutches do they have, why do they do it. That's not being tackled at all. But you're gonna fall into the same trap eventually. That Ozempic's gonna save you for so long, and the reason you're taking that they got fat in the first place is because they're fucking lazy. You don't want to be messing around with that shit, man. Those pharmaceutical drugs, man. Honestly, especially with things like weight loss and that, it's just a bit fucking. Like prior to Ozempic kicking off and like really becoming prevalent, when did anybody ever hear any good things about diet pills or weight loss pills? They was always seen as like either a scam or very dangerous. And now every Tom, Dick and Harry is taking Ozempic. And that eats into your muscle as well, right, Ozempic? So how much fat is it actually burning? Like, if you're really big, I wouldn't even bother with exercise for a while. I know it's easy to say, but once you get in a routine, like, dieting is not hard. The hard thing about eating healthy is more so like prep and things like that and cooking. Getting in the routine of doing that, especially if you're busy. But eating healthy in and of itself, I actually quite like it. Like, I don't dislike healthy food. Like, I really like lean meat, vegetables, whatever it may be. I like all that stuff. I'm not a massive fruit guy, but... Okay, what's up, Brian? How you doing, bro? How do you boys like to activate your morning shit? What's the method you use? Coffee? I need some inspiration. Oh, are you like struggling to go? Like, are you struggling to let your... Are you struggling to open up the turd cutter? I would suggest, if you're actually constipated, I would suggest go to a doctor, but I would suggest maybe ordering like a vindaloo. If you've got a curry house near you, a curry, a takeaway, Indian takeaway. Order a vindaloo. No, or order a file. It's like probably the hottest curries they do at like a regular Indian restaurant. Order something like that, and you'll be shitting the next morning. You should be anyway. Or you could give yourself cholera or something like that. That's another idea. Yeah, lay off the bread, biscuits, and cakes. Ozempic's a joke. Yeah. See, I'm not a massive fan of sugar. When it comes to like the unhealthy shit I do, or eat, or ingest, it's more so like, honestly, it's the vehicle that delivers caffeine. So when I have a coffee, that's fine because I'll either have a black coffee or like coffee with a splash of skimmed milk. But when I'm out and about, I am guilty of buying a Red Bull now and again, or a Monster, whatever it is. So that can be done without, really. I recently lost half my body weight through exercise, diet and exercise alone. It's not really hard. If you get fat, it's because you're lazy and lack discipline. It's not rocket science, just accountability, yeah. Yeah, there are an extremely small amount of people who have like a thyroid problem or something like that, but it's so rare. It is so rare, and you should be very proud of yourself as well. You should be very proud of yourself. That's Matt, by the way. Big up to Matt. Because you say it's easy. It's not easy. It's easy when you get it, right? It's easy when you get it. But when you don't, it feels impossible. I'm sure. So I've quit smoking, and I've gone down to 0 nicotine vapes, which I feel like an absolute puff doing, by the way. But it kind of kills the cravings. But I'm not ingesting any nicotine anymore. I've given up smoking. I gave up smoking, I don't know what, maybe September. It was like sometime in September. And it was weird because I've always thought about quitting smoking. I've never really wanted to though. And I woke up one morning and I thought, fuck it, I've had enough of smoking. It's too expensive. Like, it was the wrong reason to quit, but I quit. I just had enough of it. And now I'm like saving. I was spending, I kid you not, I was spending about 280, yeah, about 280 quid a month on tobacco. Wild. Yeah, eating fibres as well, right? Yeah. I like pecans. Don't like raisins. Try a laxative. Prune juice, yeah, they say about prune juice. I think kale or whatever it's called is another one. I swapped caffeine for creatine in the morning. Bro, it's funny you say that. I had a spell on creatine, and you know what I noticed? And I've got some in there, but I never fucking do it. What I noticed with creatine after like maybe a week or 10 days or something like that, after about that time period, I noticed that I had far less brain fog. Like my mind, it was like watching TV on a box TV compared to HD. Like my mind was so clearer. There was less brain fog, and yeah, bro, creatine. They market creatine for obviously like exercising and whatever, but I never realized it had a good neurological benefit to it. And that's what I really felt that, and I need to get back on it. Is my volume low? Why is that then? It shouldn't be low. Fucking hell. What about now? That should be a bit better. Should be a bit better. No, I mean, I was like Benson and Hedges when I smoked cigarettes, Ryan. And after that, I went to roll-in tobacco. And roll-in tobacco Loki's worse because you smoke more. No, I'll be honest, I didn't go cold turkey on nicotine straight away. So after I quit cigarettes, I did vape. I vaped nicotine for a bit, and then I slowly lowered the nicotine doses until I started smoking like zero nicotine vapes. And eventually I'll just stop vaping. You quit smoking and drinking on the same day in 2019, cold turkey. It was easier than I thought it would be. Yeah, I think you have to make the decision that you actually genuinely want to do it. I think that's the main thing. I think that's the main thing. It's best not to even start drinking or smoking. What you're missing out on, degeneracy and early death. Yeah, I think, listen, I think drinking's one of them things. Like, I think drinking's a moderation thing, personally. I think drinking's a moderation thing. I think you can have a good time drinking and be sensible with it, personally. You can. There's been times in life where I've probably had more drink than I should, but I've never been to the stage to where this is having a detrimental effect on my life. I've always been pretty sensible with booze. And it's part of a culture as well, booze. Like pubs and whatnot. Okay, it sounds fine. I can't shit if I take creatine and I bloat fatter than Andy Ruiz. That's hilarious. Yeah, a lot of people just can't be sensible with drink. You're right, Nordic. You're right. And I understand it when you're young. You know, you're a young man, you try and show off and whatever it may be, but you should get to like, I don't know, get past your early 20s and you should realise, you know what, I can enjoy this and relax and unwind and not have to get shit-faced to have fun. You can have 4 or 5 pints, get a little buzz on. You're not fucking smashed, but you're relaxed. You know, you can have conversation, you can have fun. Nothing wrong with it. But it's like you're right. People don't know when to knock it on the head. Yeah, alcohol in food is good as well. Had wine in my stew earlier. Oh, fancy. Now, when I cooked some pork chops a while ago, and I made like a whiskey-based pan sauce because I don't drink whiskey, and somebody got me whiskey for I think for a Christmas present. Anyway, I thought, what the fuck can I do with this? And I just googled some fucking random recipe, and I made like pork chops with rice, or was it? It might have been mashed potato, but whatever it was, pork chops, mashed potato, and it was like this whiskey-based pan sauce, and it was proper nice. It was like kind of sweet but smoky. It was really, really good. Yeah, a lot of pubs are closing now. Yeah, well, I've never really, I'll be honest, I've never been into weed like that. I've smoked weed and I've done edibles, but I feel like that again is something that I feel like in moderation, fair enough, but I don't like how weed is glorified in mainstream media and just, how the general public glorifies weed. It's got a lot of nasty side effects, man. It can obviously induce things like psychosis if you're prone to it or your family's prone to it. But also it's a testosterone suppressant for men. And for me, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it, like, because it makes me lazy. Yeah, like I've had some Polish food, not much I have to say, but the meats out there are good, like the sausages and things like that. I agree, Saint. Totally agree. Lamb is it. Lamb for me. Yeah, basically that's what a lot of people do, Owen. A lot of it is peer pressure. And that's why I actually skipped out on my work. So every year this my workplace do like an annual conference, and it always ends with having a meal and drinking basically. And I just didn't go this year. Like, why the fuck do I want to drink with people I don't know and I don't care about? I completely agree. I smoked heavily for years and it turns you into a retard. Yeah, to me that's one of them things. Like, I don't. If somebody wants a blunt every now and again, then let 'em at it is what I say. But the people who smoke that shit every day, man, that shit isn't good for you, man. I don't care what anybody says. Maybe you're an outlier. Maybe you're an outlier who can function and it doesn't really affect you like that. Fair enough. But they are outliers. Most people I know who smoke a lot of weed are horrible to be around. They're boring. Don't usually have a lot going on. And yeah, they're fuck ups. From my experience, anyway. And also, do you know the worst thing about people who really like weed? They'll let you know they really like weed. It's like, all right, mate, I get it. That's the worst. But yeah, I've tried weed. I've had weed. I haven't had weed for like maybe a couple of years, but it's just not for me. Honestly, it's not for me. Yeah, yeah. People pushing weed like it's a good thing is so fucking stupid. I know too many people who have changed negatively from smoking long term. Yeah, and also like somebody could be fine smoking one specific strain. They could be fine, but then they change it up and try something else. That could fuck them up. But there are people out there who can handle it. There are people out there who can handle it. Like somebody I worked with at my last job, he was a fucking massive, massive, massive smoker. He used to smoke on his lunch break. And he was alright. Like, you would genuinely never know. You genuinely never know. He's probably got a problem, the fact he was smoking on his lunch break, but didn't really affect him like that. But moderation is the key, right, isn't it? With anything. Moderation is the key. That sounds good, Nordic. Went to a local Ukrainian restaurant, got borscht. We also went to a nice steakhouse and a fish place before that. That sounds good, man. Sounds good. You think that the fight tomorrow stylistically suits Smith, good timing and can punch hard off the back foot, but at the same time he's unproven. I think I've got Matias as a close favourite. Yeah, I've got Matias favourite, but I think it's conceivable that Smith could pull it off. You're only a tiny bit of a fuck up. I mean, you seem pretty well put together, Ganja. You're one of the lucky ones. You're one of the lucky ones. You have weed genetics. I can't fucking talk. Yeah, the UK weed is fucking terrible for you as well. Could really go into detail about that. Yeah, there's a lot of fucking shit on the streets out here, man, honestly. There's a lot of shit on the streets. Yeah, most weed isn't even grown properly. Proper weed doesn't stink that bad. Can be good for sleep and pain. Yeah, there are. I'm not one of those. But there are, listen, I'm convinced there are some properties within, obviously, THC, whatever, that are beneficial. And even hemp in and of itself is very useful. But again, time and the place and situational, I think, you know. Yeah, I'd be one of those dickheads who'd wake up and bake. Personality resolved around the herb. Realised I wasn't productive with my life. Was very easy to quit. Yeah, they do say about weed, it's not the most addictive substance out there. Not too far from smoking crack, I'm being serious. A lot of chronic weed smokers end up looking like that, like Super Hands from the Peep Show. I don't know about that, I wouldn't go that far. But does the UK have a fentanyl problem like here in the USA? It's not really prevalent out here, fentanyl. Heroin is. Particularly in places like the big cities. Yeah, when people say it's not addictive, I know people who can't get through the day without it, yeah. Yeah, one of my friends was saying something about that as well. One of my friends was saying a friend from his school got sectioned because of basically went nuts, had like a mental break or whatever, and they suspect it was because of what he was smoking and how much he was smoking. Yeah, it's less of a chemical addiction and more of a habitual thing. It becomes part of a routine, and from there it becomes an issue. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's the words I was going to try and look for, but you put it much better than me. It's not like a chemical addiction like nicotine. Or even alcohol or whatever. Having said that, I'm definitely a caffeine junkie. I'm absolutely a caffeine junkie. Like, there's some days where I'll drink like eight cups of coffee maybe. I'm definitely a crackhead for caffeine. I drink way too much coffee. Yeah, people convince themselves watching movies or gaming won't be the same without weed. It's just mental. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't really play a game if I've smoked weed or I'm pissed up. It's nice to watch. It is nice sometimes to watch a movie with a couple of pints, but Yeah, that's a good point as well. That's a good point as well. I think it's more to do with being addicted to the feeling. You want to laugh more at everything all the time. Sometimes the UK is too gloomy, so it's easy to make it a regular habit. Yeah, that's true as well. That could be a good. That's a good little theory on why there's so many like weed heads in the UK. There's a lot of weed heads in the UK, by the way. There's a lot. Maybe the environment does play its part. You know what we kind of live around, and but who knows? It's wild. But I wouldn't mess around with it, man. I wouldn't mess around with it. You know, listen to your body, listen to your mind. You know what's good for you. You know what's not. You know what you can handle. You know what you can't. I think we all intrinsically know that. It's easy to say when especially when you're dealing with a younger, like a young man, because we think when we're young we think we're invincible, but we really are not. I'm telling you that. Yeah, when weed addicts say that alcohol is worse, yeah, and it is, but it probably is worse. But I mean, it is worse objectively, like in terms of deaths and whatnot. It is worse, but I don't know. For me, it's still more socially. It's more social. It's more socially. It's just part of our culture. No, weed isn't legal in the UK, sucker free. But it's not really treated as a big deal kind of thing. You can get weed on for certain medical issues. You can get weed prescribed, but outside of that, it's not legal. Yeah, heroin is worse than coke, so let's take coke every day. Yeah, like heroin's another one, man. That's just poison. That's awful. Like I've seen like heroin addicts when I've been to cities like London or Manchester, and bro, just horror to look at people strung out on the streets, and it's just grim as fuck. Horrid. Absolutely horrid. And to be fair to cokeheads though, Nordic, they are annoying. They are annoying. Cokeheads are annoying, especially in the UK. But most cokeheads, in my experience, their lives are pretty well put together. They'll just sniff on a Friday night or a Saturday night. They might be the least annoying drug takers. That's a controversial opinion, because when they do it, they're fucking annoying. But most people who I would call cokeheads are not doing it every day. And I do get the appeal of cocaine. I get the appeal. Yeah, no, no. Some cokeheads do have big money problems. I get it because it's fucking expensive. But a lot of cokeheads do pretty well for themselves, from my experience. Yeah, all types of people take cocaine, high class down to the chavs. Yep. I think that's why objectively it's probably the most appealing drug. Because I'm not gonna lie, I've tried it. I have tried it because I had it for free at a party. Basically, it was a friend's friend's party, and that friend invited us along. So we went along and basically to his friend's party, and some guy was handing it out for free, basically like do bumps for free, whatever. And I tried it. I'm not gonna lie, tried it, and it's the only drug I've ever tried outside of tobacco and caffeine. It's the only what we would call like a detrimental drug that I've tried. That I thought to myself, do you know what? I can see why this is addictive. It's the only one. Like, I've never intrinsically understood how somebody could get addicted to booze or weed. You know what I mean? I've never understood it. Because I wouldn't like the feeling of being hungover all the time or stoned out of my mind all the time, whatever. But cocaine, I can understand why, if somebody came into money or they was very successful, why they would do it. It's the only drug. It's the only drug where I can understand. I know, I get why people will take it. But the problem is with it, is like 10 minutes later, you're asking where the next bump's coming from. Can't be a nice line. So for me, I was boozed up when I done coke, and for me, first and foremost, it almost like instantly it felt like it instantly sobered me up, and it just felt like, for me personally, it felt like, you know how like you imagine an energy drink to work. It's a really bad fucking description, but you know how you think an energy drink should work? Like, oh, I'm going to be hyper, I'm going to be on it, I'm going to be alert. It just feels like for a small little window, you're hyper alert, you're very talkative. My face went numb. I'm not numb, but my cheeks went numb, pause. Like I was smiling, like almost like like it was decent. It was decent, but never again. I was annoyed with myself after that I even did it. Really, really annoyed. I was pissed off with myself so much, but it was what it was. It was what it was. And that's why, absolutely, it's probably a good thing I'm just coping now. It's probably a good thing I did do it, because I realised how fucking addictive that shit is. Because after that, I was looking for more bumps, man, I ain't gonna lie. I bought a big fat Cuban cigar for 149 zloty. Imagine what that would cost in the UK. Prices are proper cheap here. Yeah, I've not had a cigar in a while. I'm not going to do any more cigars either. Because I don't know if I smoked a cigar. Let's say I carry on this smoking arc and I don't smoke. If I smoked a cigar, would I want to smoke again? I don't really want to risk it. Yeah, try restraining people who are off their heads on coke. It's like demon possession, bro. That's the best way to put it. Do you know what it's? The best way to put it for me, it was like a PED. It was like what you want to be on a night out, basically. It was like a PED. Like I feel like in that 10-minute interval, where after I snorted that fucking bump, for that 10-minute interval, I might have been unbeaten on the streets. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's one of them ones. It's one of them ones. And also, what you gotta ask yourself as well, or remind yourself what that shit actually funds as well. You got to realise what that shit actually funds also. Which was another reason why I never touched it. Because I don't know what even made me try it, genuinely. It was free, maybe, not even that, because I've been offered cocaine before. I don't know what even made me try it. Maybe I was in a particular mood, or I don't know, man. Whatever the excuse is, I shouldn't have done it. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Moment of bad judgment. A manner unbecoming. But yeah, don't touch it. If you're a young guy out there who's, going to the clubs and whatever, going out with your mates, try to avoid it. Try to avoid it. See, do you know what, Nordic? I've always, even before I smoked, I've always really enjoyed the smell of cigarette smoke. Always. Even when I remember when I was a kid, like I was a kid in 2005 or 6 was when the smoking ban came into effect in pubs and clubs. And I remember going to the pub with my dad, like as like a 9-year-old, and we would like my dad would have a couple of pints, like and he'd buy me food, like whatever it may be. Anyway, we'd watch the football, whatever it was, and I remember like people smoking in the pubs back in like 2005, and I used to love the smell. I used to love the smell. And you know what, Saint? This is a crazy thing. Like, after I quit smoking, it was literally like a week later, I could smell people's secondhand smoke. So when you smoke yourself, you can't really smell other people's smoke. You can to a degree, but not to the degree that you once did. When you stop smoking, even for like a week or so, bro, you can smell people's like secondhand smoke and cigarettes, and like even if they've smoked previously like half an hour ago, you can smell it on them. It's wild. It's wild, honestly. It's crazy how quickly like your senses recover when you quit. Nah. Cigarette smoke is a nice smell. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, smell of gasoline, the smell of petrol. I love that smell. That's an amazing smell. Really like the smell of petrol. This is gonna sound fucking terrible. I don't sniff glue, but I like the smell of super glue. I don't sniff glue. Like, genuinely, I've never sniffed glue, but I love the smell of like proper strong like glue. I'm not a glue head. I'm not there sniffing tubes of glue. But the smell of it's really good, man. I don't care what anybody says. I tell you what, another smell that's really good. See, my dad was a painter and decorator, and I used to work with. He used to take me to work sometimes, whatever. And do you know what smell is so fucking good? There's two. There's a liquid called like white spirit that you clean your paintbrushes with, or you can use to clean your paintbrushes. That smells amazing. But also varnish, bro. Varnish has such a nice smell to it. It's so nice. Such a good smell, man. Like wood varnish, not fucking nail varnish. I hate the smell of nail varnish. Do I sniff my own fart? I think naturally you always do. See, I'm not a massive fan of whiskey Nordic. I've never liked it. When it comes to spirits, I'm not a massive fan of spirits, honestly. I like a bit of vodka, but the smell of burning wood. Well, the thing is, Larry, burning wood smells different depending on the wood, depending on the moisture level of said wood. So that's an interesting one. But I agree for the most part. The smell of petrol and yeah, yeah. This is the thing, like, it's a terrible habit, and I know a lot of people find it attractive, but like a hot woman who's smoking, bro, not gonna lie, it does something for me. You like the taste of rubber, bro? Why are you eating rubber? What are some other like odd things that smell nice? Some other odd things that smell nice. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I don't think so anyway. I don't think I can think of anything off the top of my head. Okay, no, I'll tell you what, a smell that's really good. Have you ever been in like, if you go into like a forest that has pine trees, you know the smell of pine? That's a nice smell. The smell of pine. Sharpie? You know, no, Sharpie does smell decent. Yeah, no, fresh grass is a good smell. Yeah, I got Matias, bro. I got Matias. I'm not super convinced. I'm not super confident, but I got Matias. I think Shakur wins, bro. I think stylistically it favours him. Dirt smells good. See, I can't deduce a smell from dirt, honestly. Not really. But yeah, pine, like pine trees, is a nice smell, honestly. And also another smell I really like, and it only happens sometimes, and it's in the summer. You know when it's been really, 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 really dry for like weeks, and then it rains. You know when you first go outside. I can't describe the smell, but it's like you smell the rain, you smell the moisture. I can't explain it. But when it's been really, really, really hot and really, really, really dry, and then it rains, that smell, that's a good smell. That's an underrated smell. 1 second. Go for a piss. Hang on, I'll mute my mic. Sorry about that. How many grams of creatine do you take when I do it? I use, it comes with like a little scoop. I just use one scoop and that's it. Mix it in with a bottle of water. Boom. Josh Kelly might beat Backram. I can't see it. I can see him winning a couple of early rounds when he's fresh, when he's like rapid and fast and explosive. But I think he'll start to fight Backram's fight because he'll be made to, and then he'll get knocked out mid rounds. I think that's what he's going to try and do, Nordic. I think that's what he's going to try and do, but I think he'll be forced into Backram's fight, because the issue with Josh Kelly, even when he tries to do that style, when he tries to box and whatnot, he wastes a lot of energy with unnecessary movement, and combine that with the pressure that Backram's going to bring, I think eventually he's going to hold his feet more, and he'll try and fight with Backram, and I think you'll see Backram then slowly grind him down before knocking him out with a counter in the exchanges. Because Bakram actually in the exchanges maintains his composure really, really well. And I think he'll knock out Josh Kelly with a left hook. I'm telling you, that's how I see it. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame, Owen, because he's a good fighter, Murtazaliev. Well, I think he's a good fighter. You never know. Maybe he's a hype job. Who knows? But yeah, Jazza Dickens versus Anthony Kakache. Decent fight. I've got Kakache. Jazza Dickens, by the way, he's had a good career renaissance because he beat that Russian kid who was gold medalist. I forgot his name. I forgot his name. The Russian dude who was gold medalist in the Olympics. Batsagaziev, right? And he beat Zelfa Barrett as well. He's coming off a good bit of form. He's coming off a good bit of form. Is Josh still with Adam Booth? I think so, Nordic. I think so. Lewis Crocker, he's gone to Adam Booth as well now. He left Billy Nelson. Which I thought was surprising, but, because I thought Billy Nelson did a really good job with Lewis Crocker in his second fight with Donovan. Like, I still actually thought he lost the fight. But the improvements were vast in comparison to the first fight. Yeah, Jazza has had a good career, considering. And it's kind of surprising, bro. He's been around a long time. I remember him fighting Kid Galahad on Channel 5. That must have been like 15 years ago. Or something crazy like that. Let's look at Jazza Dickens' box rec. So he fought Kid Galahad, yeah, back in 2013. And that was for the, I guess, British title? Yeah, it was. That was a really good fight, actually, I remember. Possibly Crazy D3, possibly. Yeah. Speaking of Warrington, he's fighting Lee Wood again. I don't know how to feel about that fight. I think that really is going to come down to who's got more in the tank, personally. Both guys are looking pretty shop-worn these days, right? I think both guys are looking pretty shop-worn. Because Lee Wood, I felt, looked pretty poor in his last fight with Kakache. Kakache set about him. And Warrington, prior to his comeback win against a journeyman, he lost 3 fights in a row. Luis Alberto Lopez, he kind of got... I felt he got dominated in that fight despite the scorecards. Lee Wood, he got stopped. And he got bossed by Anthony Kakache. I'm not sure in regards to that fight, Wood Warrington 2. Again, I think really it's going to come down to who's got more in the tank. I'm not really taking that first fight into account. Because I actually do think Warrington's a better fighter, a better boxer than Lee Wood. In terms of like prime for prime, I think Warrington's better. And he was low-key proving that in the first fight. I felt he was ahead till he got caught. But can he sustain that? Who looked worse? That's a hard one to predict because I don't know who's furthest gone, who's got more in the tank or less in the tank. Wood is washed, but Warrington is shot. Yeah, but Wood looked bad against Kakache. He looked bad. Like, Warrington didn't look any, like, good either, but he went the distance. And he took the shots. I'm going to go Warrington. I'm going to go Warrington, by the way. I'm going to go Warrington. I'm going to go Warrington. I think he's a better fighter if both guys were in their absolute primes. I'm going to go Warrington on points. This is a good point, Larry. I actually felt Warrington was looking good throughout most of that fight until he got hurt. I felt he looked pretty good in that fight as well. I know Warrington's career's had some his career's had some moments where, like, you know, he's vacated titles and whatever, and, you know, maybe not fought a couple of guys, but overall I have enjoyed Josh Warrington's career. I have enjoyed his career, to be fair. I remember when he first made the rounds, Josh Warrington, because he fought... I remember him fighting on Sky Sports. I think it might have been his first fight on Sky Sports. He fought a guy called Samir something in, like, 2013 for the Commonwealth title. And, you know, from having seen that fight way back then, I would never have imagined he'd have gone on to be a world champion. He's had a good career, Josh Warrington. Woods lost the last 2 times he's fought in Nottingham. Interesting. Oh, okay, it's in Nottingham as well. Okay. Yeah, do you know what? But that's a good fight for both guys, man. They've had respectable careers. They've had some hard fights. You know, it's a rematch. Why not, man? Winner, I guess the winner can stay on. The loser is done, let's be honest. But the winner can basically get one more big fight. Warrington is 35 years old, and Lee Wood is, what, 37, 38? 37. I like both guys, though. Listen, I like both guys overall. I think both guys have brought some good entertainment over the years. Lee Wood, though, especially. Surprised me as well. Because I remember Lee Wood at domestic level in the mid-2010s or so. I recall him getting stopped by, I think it was Gavin McDonnell, who wasn't a big puncher. You know, I think he lost to Jazza Dickens as well at domestic level. And the fact he's gone on to be a world champion is crazy to me. Like, he was supposed to lose to that Chinese guy, wasn't he? Can Zhu. He was supposed to lose to Michael Conlon. He surprised me. No lie, I remember the in-play odds at one point had Warrington 5-1 favourite a round or so before Wood came up with the stoppage. Yeah, Warrington was low-key dominating. Yeah, he was. He was winning the fight, definitely. He shouldn't have got involved with Lara in hindsight. Would love to have seen peak Maurizio Lara versus Kakashi. That would have been a good fight. Lara right now is banned, right, for a doping violation. Well, he's banned in the UK. He fought in Mexico as recently as October. You know what? He actually fought Miguel Roman in Mexico. If you know who that is, Miguel Roman. Do you remember him? He's got a record of 71-15 now. That Roman, he fought guys like fucking matey, Burchelt and people like that. He had that great fight against that Japanese fighter as well. I forget his name. Takashi something. I forget his second name. You was ringside for Lee Wood's pro debut. All the way back in 2011. Jesus. I've never seen Lee Wood. I've not seen many fighters fight live. Did he beat Burchell? Miguel Roman? I don't remember, but yeah. That Lara fought Miguel Roman recently, in October. That Miguel Roman is 40 years old now. He's got a crazy record, 71-15. You're never going to see records like that again, or they're going to become so much rarer. But he was a decent fighter back in the day. He was a decent fighter. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of. I'm not a fan of Shakur Stevenson. I remember Shane McPhilbin. Yeah, he was a cruiserweight, wasn't he? He was a cruiserweight. I think he might have been even British champion at one point in time. I think he might have been a British champion. Could have been the worst ever British cruiserweight champion. Let me check if he was cruiserweight champ. British cruiserweight champ. Because I remember he fought Huey Fury as well, Shane McPhilbin. No, he did win. Yeah, he won the British. Who did he beat for it? Leon Williams. I don't remember this guy at all. Leon Williams. Don't remember him. Okay, so he lost his belt to Enzo Macronelli. I remember John Lewis Dickinson at cruiserweight. I remember him. He was from Newcastle, I think. No, he wasn't. Don't worry. Yeah, Shane McPhilbin wasn't great, was he? He wasn't great. He was from Nottinghamshire as well. Okay. Because he went up to heavyweight. He went up to heavyweight and he fought Huey Fury. So yeah, he kind of won the British title from looking at his box rec. I remember him, but he kind of won the British title and basically lost every other fight after that. Beat a couple of journeymen here and there, but that's about it. The Enzo fight's one of the craziest fights you'll ever see. I know, so I've watched that fight. And I remember it being, like, controversial, but I don't know why. I remember it being controversial, and I can't think of me why. But I've definitely seen it. I've definitely seen it. Because it was more than likely on, like, Box Nation or something. Do I think Bam Rodriguez can beat Inoue at 122? Not right now, no. What do you people think? What do you think of people saying lame ass Haney is comeback fighter of the year? I mean, they had one fight, right? That's not enough for me. It's not enough. For me, Fighter of the Year 2025 was Inoue, just because he fought 4 times. I know the first guy wasn't that good, that Yiju Kim, whatever his name was, he wasn't good, but he beat Picasso, mandatory. He beat MJ Akhmadaliev, good fighter. And who else did he beat? Who was the other guy he beat? Who was the other guy Inoue beat? I forgot. Okay, so he was good. He was good friends with my best mate. They trained together for a time. Shane used to get drunk during camp and barely even trained. Some fights he didn't even train at all. That's wild. Okay, they rang. Okay, so they rang the. It's coming back to me now. They rang the bell 47 seconds early after Enzo got dropped. That's the old Frank Warren special. Yeah. Okay, it's coming. Now you've said it, it's coming back to me. Because I remember it being controversial, but I didn't know why. Cardenas, yes, Cardenas. How could I forget? That was a great fight. Cardenas recently had a comeback fight on Pro Box. Yeah, Inoue is the only fighter since Larry Holmes in 1983 to defend the ring belt 4 times in 1 year. When you look at it like that, it has to be Inoue for a fighter of the year, right? Surely. Like, we can't be giving fighter of the year for a guy who's had 1 fight. Cardenas almost KO'd anyway. Bro, that Cardenas. You know, in boxing now, there's a lot of like participation type of participation trophy type kind of accolades, where a fighter will get pasted by somebody and say, oh, people will say, oh, how brave he was. That was actually a brave performance because he was getting beat, he was outgunned, but he was trying to take Inoue's head off until he couldn't. Until he got stopped. He was swinging until he got stopped. Like, that's a performance in a loss. Like, they do exist. Like, performances in a loss do exist. To where they should be praised. And that was one. Like, that guy tried to take Inoue's head off. And he looked like a really good fighter in that Inoue fight. And I've seen the knockout he scored in his last fight, his comeback fight. He's a good fighter, that guy. He's a good fighter. And I like his story as well. He was like a fucking Uber driver or something, was he not? He was like an Uber driver. But what impressed me about him was his willingness to trade with Inoue. And also tried to punch in between Inoue's punches. That was ballsy. But you look at him at super bantamweight right now. I wouldn't mind seeing... I'll tell you what would be a great fight. Cardenas versus Sebastian Hernandez Reyes. You know, the guy who just fought Nakatani, who I felt beat Nakatani. That would be a great fight. Or Cardenas versus MJ Akhmadaliev. That would be a good fight. Marlon Tapales is still knocking about. That'd be a good fight for him also. Picasso versus Cardenas is a good fight. There's good fights for him there. All fights I'd like to see. And all fights he could do well in, maybe. Do you know who he reminded me of in that Inoue fight? That Cardenas. Not in terms of skill, not in terms of level, but how he was approaching it. He reminded me of Marquez against Pacquiao. in the fourth fight, in the fourth Pacquiao fight. Not in terms of level, but in terms of what he was trying to do. Maybe that's a wild fucking take, but that's who he reminded me of. And yeah, I'd like to see him again. I'd like to see him fight again in a kind of 50-50 against a world level guy. Fighter of the year should be either Inoue or Usyk. Usyk didn't do enough for me in 2025. He only beat Dubois, right? I don't think we should all. I don't think personally we should give fighter of the year to a guy who's only fought one fight in a year. Personally, and I've said this for a long time now because it's so common with fighters fighting once a year. I think there should be a criteria. Like you can't have one fight in a calendar year and be called fighter of the year. I'm sorry, can't be done. It can't be done. I really think it's an obvious choice this year. I think Inoue is the only choice when it comes to fighter of the year. I really do. Who else is there? I don't really see anybody else there. See, if Dmitry Bivol defended his belt a couple of times after Beterbiev rematch, let's say Bivol, so he beat Beterbiev in February of last year. If he were to like defend his title again and maybe rematch Beterbiev and beat him again, like that's a fighter of the year right there. But like having one fight, even if it's a signature win, I don't think one fight is ever enough to be fighter of the year personally. That's just my opinion. Maybe boxing's changing or has changed to the degree to where you could have one fight in a year and be called fighter of the year. If that's the case, then you know it's a damning indictment of where boxing is at right now. It's a damning indictment. Yeah, I'm the same crazy D3, to be honest. Like, I didn't really enjoy the fight that much, personally. It wasn't an amazing fight. It wasn't an amazing fight, you know. I felt Crawford basically exposed Canelo's weaknesses and kind of won like 8 rounds to 4. 7 rounds to 5 maybe, if you're being generous. Do you know what that fight basically was? To me, it was basically the Lara fight all over again, to a degree. Because I felt Lara beat Canelo as well. And it wasn't a... Lara was more negative than Crawford, but similar-ish type of fight, I felt. Yeah, exactly. Even the old Canelo, that was one of the biggest critiques of Canelo back in like 2013, 2014, was that he couldn't cut off a ring. It was that and that he had no stamina. Two issues in which they are still prevalent today. The stamina's got even worse since he's moved up in weight. The stamina's got even worse. There's no more combination punching from Canelo. Very rarely is there. The head movement is non-existent now. Just a high guard and plod forwards. You know? It's like he's taking a stroll through a park on a Sunday morning. Just strolling forwards. No head movement, no level change, no feints, no jab, no real jab. But I think most people who know what they're looking at has known Canelo's been on the slide for quite some time. And he's an idiot for not fighting Benavidez, because with Benavidez, if Benavidez was the guy to beat Canelo Alvarez recently, there's a bit of plausible deniability there. Like, oh, I'm old, he was so much bigger than me, you know, I'm past my prime, bloody bloody blah. But he can't use those same excuses with Crawford, because Crawford was older. I know not older in terms of miles, but on paper he's older. He's more of a similar size. He came up in weight. There's no plausible deniability for Canelo Alvarez. So his ducking inadvertently fucked him over still. His ducking inadvertently fucked him over. And I was glad he lost, by the way. Yeah, I didn't see a masterclass either. What I saw was a tactically astute, disciplined performance by Crawford. I think a masterclass is when you win every second of every single round. Maybe you're hurting your opponent as well. Maybe you even stop him. There's very few instances of masterclasses that go the distance, in my opinion. I'm trying to think of some. Usyk Gassiev is one, I guess. Yeah, Usyk Gassiev is one. I'm not a fan of him, but Rigondeaux versus Donaire. But even then, though, he got dropped. He did get dropped in that fight. So is that a masterclass? Probably not. But definitely the best he boxed, because he was actually hitting Donaire hard. He was low output, but every single shot he threw counted. It's hard. I think it's hard to display to carry out a masterclass if you don't stop a guy. Personally, I think it's kind of hard to call something a masterclass. There's a few examples, but not many. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of. I was never a massive fan of Rigondeaux, but that was a good performance. And I think for like boxing fans, like who just want to see good fights and people apply themselves, that was always the frustrating thing about Rigondeaux, because Guillermo Rigondeaux, he wasn't a Devin Haney, he wasn't a Shakur Stevenson in the sense of he was a limp-wristed puncher who couldn't crack an egg. Rigondeaux could really, really crack. He could really, really crack with his left hand. And like, if he would have adopted like a slightly more boxer punchery style, he would have been so much more appreciated. And he had the ability to do that. He could really put it on people when he wanted to, but he rarely ever did. And he carried some absolute bums to decisions, like that Francisco guy on the Ward Kovalev undercard. Yeah, his best prime performance was against Donaire, absolutely, yeah. And there was a couple of other fights. That fight he had with that big Japanese fella, Amagasa, I think his name was. He was like 5'10". That was a good performance considering the circumstances. Like, there was a lot of people who hyped Rigondeaux up to be something in which he wasn't. But he was still a very talented fighter who, in my opinion, should have done more with what he had. I think he should have done more, personally. Thing about Rigondeaux, he was too fragile. Yeah. It was, yeah. Yeah, Hisashi Yamagasa. Yeah, I remember that fight, man. It was a good fight, man. It was a really good fight. Because Rigondeaux, he got dropped a couple of times, if memory serves me correct. Maybe 3 times. but he completely fucked that guy's face up. That was a really good fight. It's a really good fight. And that's what he was capable of. Like, he could have been in more of those sort of fights, man. He really could have. He really could have. But, you know, it was the same with Erislandy Lara, though, because there were moments when Lara would actually throw and commit, and he would hurt people, man. He could put shots together. He could hurt people with his left hand. But it was just the mentality with these guys wasn't quite there to be a pro. Like, the mentality wasn't there to be a star. Like to like build a real fan base and to entertain. Just wasn't there with those guys. They could have done it, I think. I think they could have done it as well, both those guys. Lara had some better fights than Rigondeaux, though, overall. Like, he has a few decent fights on his ledger. Castano fight was good. The Jarrett Hurd fight was pretty good as well. Yeah, the Cuban amateur style doesn't translate well in professional boxing, in my opinion. Yeah, I will say though, I feel like the modern, like this generation's Cubans are more watchable. Like David Morrell, I know he's not amounted to maybe what some of us thought he would be, but he's watchable. Iglesias at super middleweight, who is the IBF mandatory, he's good to watch. I think Iglesias might be very good. I know it's hard to say with Cubans, but Oslei's Iglesias, he's looking good. I'm not expecting Hamza Shiraz to go anywhere near him, by the way. Yeah, Iglesias, yeah. He knocked out that tough Ukrainian fella, Ivanov, sorry. He's dealt with everybody that he should do so far. I think aside from Isaac Chilemba, I think Chilemba might have went the distance with him, but it was very early in his career. Like, let's have a look. Yeah, so he fought Chilemba in like his 6th or 5th fight, and he won every single round. But no, I think Iglesias is good. Crazy D3 to answer your question. I think he's good. Strong puncher. He's methodical with his pressure. Picks his shots very well. He doesn't waste a hell of a lot. Aggressive but not reckless. Honestly, in terms of style, you see more like that kind of Soviet bloc style in his game. Yeah, Daniel Yelusinov, yeah. Because he turned pro, I think, with Matchroom. Matchroom. Yeah, Yelusinov is one of the best amateurs I've seen in terms of talent. In my opinion, the best talent Kazakhstan's ever produced. That's big words, considering that they've had, like, Golovkin. What's up, DJ Clockwise? How you doing, bro? Yeah, go watch Rigondeaux and the amateurs. Beautiful boxing. And he was negative, but again, I think the smaller gloves and no headgear made him more hesitant. Yeah, I think he probably realised his chin wasn't the best. Probably what it was. There's a young Cuban named Alday Rodriguez who's looking very special. Something interesting is that he fought for both Cuba and Ukraine in the amateurs. Represents both. Yeah, Munguia's already ducked him, Iglesias, yeah. He's struggling to find an opponent for the vacant IBF title. So the title's vacant, but they're having to go down the whole list for somebody to fight this guy. Yeah, bro, yeah. Shiraz has a lot to prove. Don't get me wrong, it was low-key kind of satisfying seeing him splatter Matey, Belanga, because I don't like Belanga personally, honestly. But yeah, he does get a lot of hype, Hamza. And listen, man, If you want to fight for a different title first before Iglesias, fair enough, I guess. But I want to see that fight. I want to see him fight Iglesias. I think Iglesias is going to go through him, honestly. Yeah, it might be Troy Williamson taking that fight because they've had to go so far down the IBF rankings. I think Troy Williamson would be the type of guy to take it, but yeah, I think that's a mismatch. Well, it is. Yeah, that's a mismatch. Maybe he's the first Cuban. There's been good Cuban fighters. Don't get me wrong. Like the guys we've just mentioned, but Iglesias, maybe he's the first Cuban to like generate a real like authentic following because of his style. We'll see. We'll see, but he's fun to watch. Yeah, and Vlad Shishkin, I thought Vlad Shishkin beat or had a very good argument of beating William Skull. So yeah, he stopped Shishkin, who's very tough and durable. Dominated that fight as well. He stopped Petro Ivanov, who's another durable, unbeaten fighter. He stopped Shevdenko. He stopped Kosares in a round, who obviously went the distance and got robbed by Belanga. Good fighter, man. He's a good fighter. Yeah, I forgot about the Shishkin fight. Dan, I forgot about the Shishkin fight. That's a good result, though. Stopping him's... I don't rate Shishkin all that highly, but he's a competent pro who's durable and strong. He's a, tough guy. I'll tell you what, why not chuck in William Skull with Iglesias? Just so we can get rid of that guy. Can't believe I've not asked you this yet, but who would you favour to win between Benavidez and Jai Opetaia at cruiserweight? I think Opetaia right now. I would need to see Benavidez at the weight. I think Benavidez is an improving fighter. I think he's got a lot better in recent years. I think his high guard has got so much better in particular. I think his guard has become an active guard. He can punch off the guard, and he can use the guard even to measure distance and things like that. I think his guard has got so much better in recent times. I think his all-round punching in general is tighter. Benavidez. His combinations are tighter. His balance is slightly better. Still not perfect there. But yeah, I think he's a fighter who's got a lot better in recent times. Can he make the jump to cruiserweight though? I think the Zurdo Ramirez fight's going to be a good test for him. I actually really like that fight as well, to be honest with you. I know we wanted a unification between Zurdo and Opetaia, but I don't know, man. I like that fight a lot, Zurdo and Benavidez. But I need to see Benavidez in that fight first. I need to see that fight first. Yeah, he's fighting a prospect, Dan, called like Jacob Bank or something like that, I think. I don't know who this fella is, this Bank guy. I've never seen this Bank guy fight. I think his name's Jacob, but his second name is definitely Bank, I'm pretty certain. Yeah, Jacob Bank. Is his check going to bounce? Or is he going to bounce William Skull's head off the canvas? We shall see. January 31st in Denmark. I should do promos for these fucking cards. I should be on I should be on the promotional team of Matchroom or someone. I'll come up with good taglines for fights. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Opetaia should fight Noel Givor or Makali and whatever he's calling himself now. Yeah, did you actually win on that video? That's crazy, man. Hopefully you're well, Henry, and Happy New Year, man. Might need to go and see that Skull Marathon runner, yeah. But no, William Skull is fighting, yeah. He's fighting January 31st in Denmark. That's on the zone as well. Again, this Jacob Bank fella, he's got a record of 17-0 with 9 knockouts. He is Danish as well. What's his amateur career saying? Do I reckon? I mean, there's not many amateur fights on his box rec. He lost to Gradus Kraus, who I know. By the way, in terms of prospects, that Gradus Kraus, he might be one to watch. He looks half decent. The Dutch light heavyweight. It'd be kind of cool to have a Dutch boxer who's half decent. His dad's a kickboxer, right? Gradus Kraus. It's a hell of a name as well, isn't it? Gradus Kraus. That's a good fighter's name, I think. Yeah, but the annoying thing is he signed with Boxer, which is annoying. Honestly, watching that fight at the time, Psychopathy, I had the exact same feeling. I don't think that's a crazy take at all. Yeah, Dutch people are massive. I'm pretty sure the average height over there is like 6 foot to 6'3", yeah. Yeah, they do well in kickboxing, man, but they've never really taken to boxing for whatever reason. But yeah, that Gradus Kraus looks like a half-decent prospect, the Dutch dude. It's just a shame he signed with Ben Shalom, man. Because number one, I'm not convinced by his matchmaking, but number two is how many dates is he going to get? How active is he going to stay? If I was a prospect still, I know Warren's kind of slipped a bit, but if I was a prospect, I would still sign with Frank Warren. If I was UK based, I would still sign with Frank Warren. If I was a young pro. Maybe not if I was established. To be fair though, Henry, that Nicky Holtzkin was a kickboxer, right? The fact he went the distance with Callum Smith is pretty good, to be fair to him. I think that's pretty cool, like the fact he went the distance is a pretty decent achievement. Because there's talk, there is talk of the other, there's another Dutch kick, that Rico Verhoeven guy. There's talks of him trying to box. I think he's left it too late. He's like mid-30s, but... I think he left it too late. I don't know what his his actual boxing is like. But I know he's sparred a lot of pros, like pro boxers in boxing. I know he's sparred a lot of boxers. And, you know, people in boxing seem to speak pretty highly of him, from what I've listened to anyway, in regards to his actual boxing skill. Who's a worse promoter? Prime Ben Shalom, current Don King, current Bob Arum, Andrew Tate or Joe Joyce? Ben Shalom, mate. Ben Shalom. Yeah, one sec. From what I've seen, no, Henry. I have seen a bit of Kaniba, whatever his fucking name is, Ebenezer. And he's a big lump, he's 6'7". He moves okay, his hands are not slow. But he to me, he's a guy who has poor punch technique. It doesn't look like he turns his shots over well to me. The jab is very... The jab is pretty slow though, lackadaisical. It's like a pouring shot more than anything, just to set up his right hand. He's kind of got that Huey Fury technique about him in regards to his punches. Not quite like Huey Fury, but that kind of mold, you know? And I think he's going to end up giving up his height and reach. I think he's going to give it away. I think Caballero's going to be able to walk onto him without really fearing what's coming back. I think he'll get to the body and I think he'll stop him mid-rounds, left hook, or maybe even body shots. Yeah, Ergashev versus Junkenbayev. Okay, that's an interesting fight. Basically, loser leaves town, right? Because I used to watch both those guys on the come-up. They both looked really interesting. But they both ended up fighting Matias. And yeah, that was it. That was it. That's the thing with Matias though, like in his prime, like he was fighting all these unbeaten who needs him type of guys like Ergashev and Junkenbayev and Malik Hawkins, people like that. You know, Jeremias Ponce, all these guys who are unbeaten, that were basically high risk, low reward. Yeah, he's an idiot, Ben Shalom. He's so uninspiring as well. But no, I've enjoyed this little catch up, guys. I've enjoyed this little catch up, but I will wrap it here. I will have to wrap it here. I'll try and do more of these though going forwards this year. I'll try and I am gonna try, and don't hold me to it, but I will try and be a bit more active on the channel. I would like to do some new things, but whether we get to that or not, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you guys have had a good start to your new year. And yeah, I wish you a happy rest of your new year as well. Hopefully it all goes well for you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, you know, and do well. You know, hopefully you have a good year. But anyway, I'll catch you guys hopefully sooner rather than later. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.